Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, July 25th, 2024. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Jason Dunn and Doug Walker from the Inland Empire Brewers Homebrew Club in California join me to mash their luck. Jason and Doug are organizing the first ever competition based on our Mash Your Luck game, in which they will challenge some of their club membership to brew the best beer based on the characteristics that we will choose at random. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and many thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. And many thanks to the new Patreon subscribers who are signing up every week. Your help is very much appreciated. Financial supporters this week will receive an early release of the video episode where Steve Wilkes and I sample my experiment with the fruit stout. That was a fun little thing where I pasteurized a fruit stout after I brewed it and added the blackberry juice at bottling time, and then did a test to see if heat pasteurization would stop the fermentation, and if the heat would actually affect the flavor of the fruit. And so Steve and I taste that on the show that you'll see this week, the early release. I have plans to brew another Pog beer on the hot porch, but the Postal Service is sending my ingredients for that beer all over Northwest Arkansas. So it's an extra service that the Postal Service is doing for me. The handy thing about tracking on the USPS website is that you get to see all the fun places that your package is visiting. So I hope it gets little stickers, like you used to see on the movies when people get their suitcase and they go for different places and they put stickers all over it. That'd be fun. So far I've got Fayetteville and Mountain Home, Arkansas, and back to Fayetteville, and allegedly Prairie Grove, but nobody seems to know where it is. Anyway, luckily I have the yeast for that beer safely in my beer fridge downstairs. Yesterday I got honey for my hot porch honey IPA that we formulated last week. That's the beer that I want to brew with that Pog. From Caleb Hutcherson, that's the local beekeeper that I get my honey from. And you can follow Caleb on Instagram at Caleb's Bees, CalebsBees, if you want to see video of him extracting beehives out of people's houses, trees, and businesses. It's crazy. You wouldn't think that, having bees stuck in your walls would be such a common thing, but man, I guess it happens all the time. And then he takes those bees out and the honey and such, or the hives. I don't know that you can eat, honey that's been in somebody's house, but maybe you can. I don't know. Anyway, he takes those bees and he puts them in new hives. And adds them to his collection. Caleb tells me he has around 100 hives now. That's a lot of bees. You take the number of bees that are in an average hive, and then you multiply that times 100. That's how many bees he's got. Once I get my ingredients, I'll be brewing with A37 Pog from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Yeast. Pog is the featured yeast this summer. It's Ebegarden Kveik, and I can tell you it loves the summer heat. I pitched my 1075 double IPA at 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 C, and within a couple of hours, the airlock on the bucket on the porch was bubbling. I went from pitching to bottling in less than a week. There's a lot of sediment in those bottles. Should I have waited longer? Probably, but and it's not surprising that happened. Kveik is awesome, and those 200 billion cells of it in each easy-to-open package of Imperial Pog are ready to go. Did I make a starter for that 8.6% beer? No, I did not. I didn't dust off my stir plate. Now, Kveik is a different animal, so depending on what strain you use, for big beers, and especially lagers, you may want to consider using a starter. Ask your local homebrew store about A37 Pog and check out all the dependable deliciousness at imperialyeast.com. It's imperialyeast.com. Oh, and I nearly forgot. The malt liquor that I brewed with Imperial Harvest that the post office kept longer than it should, and I did make starters for that. It's now lagering at around 38 degrees Fahrenheit, which in Celsius is pert near freezing. Okay, we're heading into new territory here this week. We've never done the Mash Your Luck Challenge as a competition before, but Jason Dunn and Doug Walker from the Inland Empire Brewers Homebrew Club have that competitive spirit. Jason Dunn, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks, James, for having us on.
Doug Walker, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Jason, I'll talk to you first since you are president. You are president of the Inland Empire Brewers Homebrew Club. Where the heck is that?
So we're out in Southern California in the Inland Empire. So we cover Corona, Riverside, Redlands, Yucaipa, then Montclair, Chino. We basically cover quite a large area here.
Wow. There's no beer out there. There's no good beer out there, right?
There's some pretty good beer. Plus, we got San Diego not too far away, which has some amazing beer.
Yeah, that was one of my silly questions. I'm envious of all the good beer that's out your way. Tell me about the club. I mean, you guys contacted me because you're coming up on your 40th anniversary of the club, which is incredible. I graduated high school 41 years ago, and that was a long time. That was a long time ago. Give us, Jason, give us some history of the club and how it got started and how it's kind of evolved.
So I'm assuming, I don't know the exact history of how we got started, but I know we started in 1984. I'm assuming it's just a bunch of people that wanted to get together and drink some beer and talk about homebrewing. So since then, we have evolved quite greatly. Since the past 10 years, I've been, actually 12 years now, I've been a member. We're up to close to just over 70 members. Typically, an active meeting has about 30 plus members.
Wow.
We hold multiple events hold a monthly meeting. Then we do what we call our Thirsty Thursday, which is more of us hanging on out, having a couple beers, going to support the local community around us. And we also do a lot of quite a few different charity events. One of the ones that we're going to have coming on up is we're going to be out up in Lake Arrowhead for the Brew Fest. And then past that, we're going to be over at Brocktoberfest, which supports one of the local rescues, Mary S. Roberts.
Excellent. Well, I bet you the technology and the brewing styles and the amount of ingredients available has changed quite a bit in 40 years. I mean, I started brewing in '96, and it's evolved quite a bit since then. I can't imagine what it was like 40 years ago.
Exactly. I feel like nowadays we're spoiled. You could just we have more beer just around the corner for us, maybe a half an hour drive for me. So I just drive on over there all the time, just pick up my ingredients, and the vast amount of ingredients is just insane.
Sure. You're spoiled.
Oh, I am.
I want to get into Jason. I want to get into your brewing history, but Doug, you've written that you've given me a little bit of information about yourself. You've had a very short but very active homebrew career. Tell us about how long you've been brewing and what you've been doing.
Sure. So as is my personality, I tend to jump into things wholeheartedly and head first. So when it was first presented to me to try my hand at homebrewing, I was very much that would not be something I would enjoy. I hear about how much cleaning is involved and whatnot. And my perspective was there's, a place right down the street, Hangar 24. I can get 15 gallons at a time, stick it in my kegerator, and I probably can't brew as good as them. So why bother? But my friends kept, my multiple friends kept telling me, you'd be good at it. You would like it. And then the local breweries started to modify, tweak, change their recipes in part of the whole, I guess they call it the bitter wars, where they were all trying to see who can outbitter each other. And they were starting to take beers that weren't bitter, like an American wheat, and then bitter it up. And so that was kind of my final straw. And I said, okay, well, let me, I'm tired of trying to search for beer. So let me try my hand. Did a bunch of research and decided that I was going to, and I have a friend up in Washington who consults for professional brewers. And he gave me some guidance. He said, brew in a bag, do brew in a bag. And then I found these all-in-one units. And I'm like, it's like brewing a bag, but easier. And so I feel like sometimes I kind of cheated because my first brew was an all grain brew with a G30, and I had a freezer that I had bought to do my temperature control of my little PET, and they were right. I tried it. I liked it, especially like the fact that it's so much to learn. No matter how deep you go down the rabbit hole, you're never going to find the bottom. And that knowledge base. And I also love the problem solving. So I don't like lifting things. And so when I built out my brewery and my garage, I plumbed in PEX lines so that I don't have to lift any water. I just turn a knob and water shows up where it's supposed to go. So little things like that, see a problem, solve a problem. And since then, I've 3 years later, I've brewed just about 120 batches. I'm now competing, thanks to folks like Jason and other people in our club pushing me in that direction. And so I'm part of the Master Homebrewers program, where they kind of give you rank based on how you do at different competitions. So I'm just one tick away from distinguished with those guys. And I've had a pretty good run even with the competitions I've done. At first, I didn't think that I was going to be, imposter syndrome. I didn't think my beers would be good enough for competition, but 96 entries later and 32, 34 medals later, and it doesn't all suck.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that's amazing. You apparently have got the knack. You say you don't like, or you weren't all about the bitter beers. What are the beers that you tend to brew that do the best in the competitions then?
So I brew for a lot of different reasons. Our club does charity events constantly. So we're brewing to give out beers. I have friends who are having weddings and parties, and I'm brewing beers for them. So I do a really wide range of beers. The ones I would say that I've really, taken the time and done 6 or 7 batches to kind of hone in recipes. I have a wheat recipe that's an orange wheat, an American orange wheat that doesn't do well in competitions because it's a fruit beer, but it's not fruity. It's more of a orange wheat that has subtle hints of orange. And so it's not good for competition. My other one that I've been working on, and I kind of dialed in the way I like it, is I have a British brown that's really good. The ones that I have that are really strong in competitions, ironically, I did a West Coast Pilsner, which everyone loved it. I didn't particularly care for it, and it got one of my highest scores. It got a 44 in a competition. Wow. And I have a Weizenbach that I've entered in, I think, 10 competitions, and it's gotten 9 medals.
Wow.
That one just passed regionals, and it's heading off to Chicago at the NHC.
Wow. Well, good luck. That's amazing. Jason, you got to measure up. What talk about your history. How long have you been brewing, and are you as much of a competition junkie?
So I've been brewing approximately, let's just say 15 years or so. I started out with the typical, extract. My wife got it for me for Christmas just because wanted to get into brewing. And needless to say, my first beer was drinkable. I was actually pretty happy. It was a Shark Bite Red Clone. And from there, I could tell you I did not stay extract for very long. Within the next month or two, went out, got the all grain cooler system. And then from there, it evolved and became very expensive. I now brew on a single tier, 20-gallon kettles. I usually do about like a 12 to 14-gallon batch each time. Built a control panel that I wrote the software for. So my background is IT. And of course, with IT, you like to tinker, you like to DIY. So I built a touchscreen control pad, control my entire system. So I can actually brew while I'm working, which is great considering I
Wow.
work from home.
Wow.
So, but it is a single tier. It is your typical Herm system. It has expanded greatly. I started out, like I mentioned, the 20-gallon kettles. I now have 50-gallon kettles. I basically have almost three systems right now where I could do a 12-gallon batch up to a 40-gallon batch, a small, and then go back down to like a 6-gallon batch if need be. Um,
Wow.
I am
Wow.
a competition junkie like Doug. I started out competing way long ago. I'll be honest. I don't even remember how many wins I have. I just have them up on the wall in the brew room, and there's a good stack in there. Um,
Now it
as far,
sounds like you've almost got the capacity to brew professionally in your from your house, but you already have beers that you've designed that are being served commercially, right?
yeah, I have. I actually won right now at Stone Brewing in Escondido. They have my pineapple done upside down, which is fruit-based beer. Do love adjunct in my beers. It's a wee heavy that got the brew over there on their 120 barrel system. They
Wow.
released it on their one batch dispatch series, and they actually kept a keg behind. And yeah, you can go down there right now. Hopefully, it's still on tap. It's a
Wow.
delicious beer.
Wow. That's
So
pretty incredible. It sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun, and you're part of a very active and knowledgeable community. Both on the homebrew side and commercially as well. It seems like homebrewing is in a bit of a slump, at least in the rest of the country. How is the overabundance of good commercial beer in your area? How has that affected the number of people that have gotten interested in the hobby? I mean, Doug, you're bucking the trend. In the past 3 years, while everybody else is kind of saying, well, I can buy good beer. Why should I make it? You're bucking the trend and getting in more and more into it. So Doug, I guess it's your turn. I guess I'll ask you. How are you seeing the kind of trends as far as the number of people that are actively brewing and actively wanting to get into the hobby recently?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to gauge because I only have my perspective of the last 3 years. My understanding is right before I came on board, there was a huge surge, partly due to the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I keep hearing all the news that the brewing is down. But in my circle, it seems like our club is constantly getting new members, and it seems like we're bringing on new people. And when we go to events, there's a bunch of other clubs there serving beer, and so from my perspective, it seems like it's healthy. I don't know what other people are comparing it to or what I should be comparing it to, but it seems like one of those hobbies that you're going to have only so many people who are into doing it at any given time, and it's going to ebb and flow. So I think right now we're in an ebb.
Mm. Jason, your opinion?
so pre-COVID, we were on the verge of hitting over 80 members. So I have seen a little bit of a drop myself. Um, but our club is holding very strong as quite a few of the other clubs around us. So, I mean, it's been pretty status quo for the past, I'd say, couple of years now.
Nice, nice. I think that community and involvement, that has to help. I mean, if you're just brewing by yourself, like me. Although I'm a member of this community, I have friends who brew. They're just not necessarily in my same town, and we trade beers back and forth. But it's just that we're doing it across the country. I think having a community and having a support system that you can bounce ideas off of, or if you have an issue, if you have a problem, if you have a question, I think having a support system and having a community of people around you that you enjoy being with, and having some friendly rivalries. I'm sure that enters into it as well. That's got to have been instrumental in keeping your club healthy.
Oh, 100%. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of with our club is not only are we just consider ourselves club members, we've actually generated friendships that, some certain people I'd have no problem calling family. Doug, I mean, I'd call him in a heartbeat for anything, even outside of brewing. It's created, amazing relationships, and it's something you just can't beat.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds wonderful. So speaking of now, we're going to do a Mash Your Luck. I forgot to ask you before we get started. We're going to select these characteristics for this mystery beer, and let half a dozen of your club members participate in this. Do we want to make this a competition, or is this just like David Letterman used to say on Stupid Pet Tricks? This is an exhibition, not a competition. Please, no wagering. So do we want to make this a competition, a friendly competition, or do we just want this to be kind of a demonstration of, of people's skills? What do you guys think?
I'm thinking friendly competition.
I'm thinking that I know some of the people who are going to be sending in beers, and whether or not you make it a competition, it'll be one of those. It's not a race, but I'm winning.
Yep.
And maybe we need to get together to, because this is almost going to be like if people do different styles of beer, it's going to be kind of like a best of show kind of a thing. And maybe we've never done this as a competition before. We had the Brew Club, the Brewlosophy Brew Club, send in entries, and we just tasted those and kind of gave our feedback. And we didn't select, favorites. But, maybe we make it an extension of the competition, not only just brewing the beer, but, maybe have like a short, essay competition where people, I'm just coming up with this on my head, but you go to an art gallery and you look at the piece of art and you might say, yeah, it's pretty good. And then you read the description beside the piece of art and it's like, okay, I get it. I get that now. Maybe what would you think of like opening it up into like, some more creativity on like either naming the beers or,
so you're looking for the whole backstory experience.
Exactly. I want a story with this beer.
I love that idea.
I do too. And I don't know if you've done this, and I don't know how many of us you're going to have the 6 beers and just a few people talking about it. Are you going to have all 6 brewers on to talk about their beers and deliver their stories?
Oh, that might be interesting. Or we could, well, maybe we should talk about this offline. But there may be, we may be able to do a giant Zoom session, or maybe we have each one of them record a short, pre-recorded audio description of their beer, or some sort of audio production to introduce the beer. We can talk about that offline. But yeah.
I say we make this. I say we take whatever you've done in the past and we make it bigger because it's the IE way.
Exactly.
Yeah, this collaboration stuff. That's how it works. This is great. And we have to give credit to Adam Ross of Twin Span Brewing, who kind of came up with this concept. I named it, because of my being a fan of 1970s game shows. But Adam is the one who came up with the thing, because I was like, I think I challenged him to come up with something we hadn't brewed before, and he was like, well, let's just roll the dice, essentially. So is there anything else that you guys want to say about the club? Like, for instance, your website, how do people learn more about the club?
So if you want to hit up our website, it's iebrewers.org. We meet monthly. We also have Facebook. It is Inland Empire Brewers. Make sure you guys follow us on there. Hit us up on the website. If you want, there's a contact button on the website. Reach on out. We'll send you the information. Would love to have anyone out to any of our meetings.
Excellent.
So
Probably some good.
I'll just add this, James, that I know right now there's someone listening to this podcast and they're brewing at home and they're within driving distance of the Inland Empire and they know where they are. But they don't know anyone. They don't want to show up to a meeting. And I will just say that we are such a welcoming group. When I showed up, it was right after the doors opened from the pandemic, and people were there with open arms and very accepting and welcoming. Every single meeting, we're bringing bottles, we're sharing bottles, giving people blind feedback. So it's such an incredible way by coming to this group and having people give you that feedback about how your beer is, to the style you're trying to make. That really is what makes better brewers. And I think, a lot of my success I owe directly to this club. And if someone's out there who's looking for that, come find us. If we're easy to find on the internet. Jason just gave the spot. There's a Riverside More beer. We got our flyers in there too. So just come find us. We're having a meeting. Well, this podcast is in the future. So we had a meeting on the 13th.
Excellent. All right. So are we ready to roll some numbers?
Let's roll the dice.
I'm excited.
We've got 5 categories. We've got ABV, we have bitterness, we have color, we have type, and we have origin. So we had a little discussion beforehand on ABV, and I think we're all on the same page about, there's been some guidance from the Brewers Association and the AHA recently on being cautious about either no alcohol or very low alcohol beers just because of food safety concerns. And we've talked about that on a past Mash Your Luck episode. So in the very beginning, the ABV categories are very low, low, medium, high, and very high. So I think we're all three cautious about the very low segment of the discussion. What do you guys think? Should we take out the very low variable, or should we put a lower limit on the style or the beer? What do you think, Jason?
I'm thinking we remove the very low, just to be on the safer side.
Okay. And Doug?
I agree, because even if we tell people very low, it doesn't have to be, sub 3.5. There's always going to be that one person who's not going to believe the literature, and they're going to try to do it, 2 point something or a 3.1 ABV. So I think we just take it off altogether.
Okay. And full disclosure, I've done 2% beers in the past, but I've generally kept them refrigerated on tap, and they don't last very long. So, but it's something that I wouldn't feel comfortable in, sending across the country or sharing with somebody if I didn't think that they were going to, especially if I didn't think that they were going to drink it quickly. So yeah, just to be prudent and safe for this exercise at least. So we'll go low, medium, high, and very high. So low would be 1, medium is 2, high is 3, and very high is 4 on ABV. And also, this is kind of like we haven't put hard numbers on these, on the ABV and the bitterness, partially because I don't want to kind of constrain people's creativity, and I want to kind of leave that up to interpretation, and it might be style dependent. So let's roll the dice and see what we come up with. Okay, number 2. So it's medium ABV. So straight down the middle.
Awesome.
You can roll with that.
Yeah, it gives you some flexibility. Bitterness, we have low to mid, balanced, high, and very high. So we'll set the number generator to 5 numbers this time. And here we go. Ooh, We have high bitterness. So far we have medium ABV and high bitterness.
Listening to this call, you just made a gentleman named Robert very happy.
Okay, medium ABV and high bitterness. Okay, for color, we have pale, gold, amber, brown, and black. Here we go. What are you guys rooting for?
Maybe gold.
Yeah, I'm rooting for something darker because I feel like we're working on an IPA here.
Well, Jason, you got it. It's gold. Doug is thinking I shouldn't have said that I hated IPAs.
I'm going to be negotiating that joker on that bitterness.
Okay, for type we have lager, ale, and then you guys said that you would be open to a sour as well.
So on that, if we end up a sour, how does that affect the bitterness? Because bitterness and sours just don't play well. We don't want to make something that's undrinkable.
Well, that could be up to interpretation. For example, if you have a sour beer, a high bitterness in a sour ABV or IBU wise might be low in another style. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That does. And to be honest, I've had quite a few delicious sour IPAs that were intentionally soured.
Mm-hmm. Well, it might be a moot point. We know.
Right. Exactly.
So let me roll the dice. Here we go.
I'm getting nervous.
You didn't have to worry. It's an ale. So far this is a doable, a fairly doable beer here. Nothing crazy.
No, not at all.
It kind of looks like an IPA.
So origin, we have U.S., Germany, UK, and then I added Belgium last time. Is there any other origin that you think we should add, by the way?
I mean, I don't know how many styles we can pull out of it, but aren't the Australians doing a lot of good stuff these days?
Sure.
So like a New Zealand pale ale, or
well, like
something
what we have here is looking an awful lot like a New Zealand Pilsner.
Or should we say like Australasia? So that we get isn't New Zealand and aren't New Zealand and Australia both in Australasia?
I believe so.
New World.
Okay. Okay. So now we have U.S., Germany, UK, Belgium, and Australasia. And I apologize if I offended people with my stupid geography. Okay, here we go. Oh, well, there we go. We have Australasia. So Australia or New Zealand. So right now, let me scribble again. Now, right now we have a medium ABV, high bitterness, gold ale from Down Under.
So if we had that bitterness at a low, I just heard a podcast today about a Pacific ale that this would fit other than that bitterness.
So are you suggesting that we use your joker for the bitterness?
I believe as the president, Jason gets to use the joker, but I am heavily lobbying.
What do you think, Jason?
Let's go for the bitterness. Let's see what we get. We'll see if we get very high.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Of course, you have to trust me that I'm actually, doing this correctly. But you can trust me. It's low to mid now.
Okay.
Low to mid bitterness.
We just made it. We just put together a nice opportunity.
Yeah, we did.
So what are you guys thinking? I mean, if you were to do this challenge, and you might, and we have to say that we are also open to any other ingredients that people want to put in the beer. You know, if they want to put honey, if they want to put coffee, if they want to put fruit, you know, we're not, you know, limiting people just to these specifications. This is the base beer, kind of, if they want it to be. So, Jason, if you were given these parameters, how would you approach it?
So right off the bat, I would sit there and maybe think about, you know, a super hoppy pale pilsner, for example. But I would have to put a little bit more thought into it because I want to be a little bit more original. I want something that's going to wow you. So I would think about some sort of adjuncts, something a little bit interesting that is from Australia, New Zealand area.
Yeah, it would have to be something that would either not change the gold color or would accentuate the gold color. And you could have a super hoppy beer that is low to mid bitterness. You know, think of New England IPAs. You know, those are super juicy and super hoppy, but
exactly
not necessarily super bitter. So, Doug, what are you thinking? Where are you leaning?
So, I mean, I'm thinking one of two camps. This seems like it would make a good recipe for a New Zealand Pilsner, which is one of the experimental categories of the BJCP. I think it's X5. And also, like I said, I just heard today about a Pacific Ale, which is a heavy wheat and light malt with Galaxy hops, all in the dry hop and fermented out as an ale. So it sounds like this would fit nicely into that one as well. So I'm kind of leaning towards that Pacific Ale because when I heard them talking about it, it sounded delicious. It's like a fruit salad exploding in your mouth in a wheat beer. Yum. With all that Galaxy, and so I might go that way, or I also reserve the right to relook and dig into that New Zealand Pilsner. That's another style I've been wanting to brew for a while.
Now, Pilsner is a lager.
Oh,
this is an ale.
Well, I would just do it with Lutra.
do it with a Kvike on a hot porch, and then call it a Pilsner. See how many people you can get mad.
Yeah, you are correct. I might not be able to do the Pilsner.
But then it's going to be a pale ale at that point. That's actually a very valid point.
Now, I brewed a hot porch, quote unquote, Pilsner with Kvike. You know, that had the characteristics other than the yeast, you know, fermentation temperature, you know, of, you know, sort of a pseudo Pilsner. But, you know, you might get yelled at. That's the only thing.
I'll say this, regardless of what I brew, I will be looking for New Zealand products on this one. I'll see if I can source some Galaxy and Jason, what's that other hop that's real popular? Is it Nilsson?
There's Nelson. Yeah, Moteca. There's quite a few.
Yeah, I've seen Nelson Sauvin hops being harvested with my own eyes.
Oh, that's exciting!
Several years ago, with we went down. They invited us down for the New Zealand Homebrewers Conference, and a nicer bunch of folks you'll never meet. Yeah, I loved New Zealand, and I would love to feature their hops. That would be great. So, yeah, something fruity, golden, crushable, medium ABV. So, you know, super drinkable. You could have a couple, 3 of them, not have to worry about, you know, saying things to people. So, I mean, what are you guys thinking? I mean, you know, on these, like, for instance, let's put some numbers or ranges of numbers, and that, you know, the brewers don't have to stick to them. But if you're saying medium ABV, Doug, in your mind, what do you consider medium ABV?
So to me, a medium ABV is going to be that 4.6 to 5.3 range.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the beers I brew, I tend to stay in the 4.2 to 4.5 range.
And Jason?
Yeah, I'd have to say about 5 to 7 for me.
He's not lying.
See? Yeah, see,
Yep.
we get into interpretation. That's interesting. Bitterness, low to mid. You guys might have might have different takes on that as well. Jason, you go first on the bitterness.
I would say maybe about like, I don't know, 20 to 25 IBUs. Or maybe 20 to 30 IBUs for low
Doug,
to mid.
what do you think, Doug?
So, I mean, if this was a 1086 beer, then I would say, low would be 57 IBUs, but it's not. It's a medium ABV. So I think it's probably going to be in that 21 to, high end be in the low 30s. So I would say from the low 20s to low 30s.
Yeah.
Kind of in that Hefeweizen to brown,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of range.
Yeah. I think I'm on board with it. I may be leaning more with Jason on the ABV, but I've been brewing some bigger beers recently.
So I have to keep my ABV down a little bit because I tend to sit down and have not one.
Yes, I hear you. I've got an 8.6% double IPA in the beer fridge downstairs, and I bottled it all. Mainly because I wanted to preserve the hoppiness of the beer, and I'm not too confident on my ability to keg something, and especially do keg fills without exposing the beer to a lot of oxygen. And also, I can very visually see how much of the beer I've had. where if something's on tap and it's a big old beer like that, I'm like, I can track my consumption a lot better, if I can actually see the bottles. Well, excellent. I think we've got. There's some details that we need to work out as far as the parameters of the actual competition or whatever, and I may just let you guys, kind of have the reins on that. Since you have kind of a feel of your club. But I think I like this. I think this sounds like a delicious beer, and I can't wait to see what your folks do with it.
I'd agree. I'm pretty excited about it.
I can't wait to see what I come up with. I have no idea right now.
Well, I think that so far we haven't had a disastrous roll. I think one thing about home brewing is that it allows you to bring your creativity to the table, and you can kind of make a silk purse out of a sow's ear kind of sometimes. So, yeah, I think this is great. Well, congratulations on the 40th anniversary of your club. It's incredible, and I'm so happy to have been able to spend time with you. And I look forward to tasting the results. And good luck to everybody who participates.
Awesome, thanks James for having us on.
Many thanks to Jason and Doug. I'm really looking forward to tasting what they and the other club members come up with. Those beer parameters are right up my alley, and I don't think it's going to be a challenge to make some really, really, really good beers. That is going to be a fun show, a fun tasting. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com, and please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. So until next time, till then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer, production help for Basic Brewing Radio, and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.